Welcome to G4G here on YouTube. Today we are taking a look at the Thor Ragnarok event that is occurring within Marvel Future Fight. And I'm just going to check my levels here. Sorry about that. Sometimes it jacks up to 100. Still haven't figured out what causes that. It just randomly does it. So, Marvel Future Fight Thor Ragnarok update. We've got a lot of new stuff in the game right now. I almost feel as if this is the most amount of content this game has ever had in a several day period. There's just a lot to do in the game right now, and I think a lot of people's gold and maybe even crystals will definitely be in jeopardy over here. My energy is great. Gold, yeah, I took a hit. I decided to T2 Thor. I mean, I just had to, knowing that 350 bios were coming for him, and he already had a huge amount of bios. I just did it. I was like, alright, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it, and then when his 350 bios come in, I'm going to leave him enough so that he could go through the uniform upgrades relatively okay, and then maybe siphon him out to a native tier 2 or something like that. So, speaking of him, we'll jump right into it. Gone are his hammer-related accoutrements, and he's got swords in this one. And of course, this is very similar to the movie, which I definitely want to see. I've heard that the movie is actually very good. I haven't given him any Urus yet, and I jacked up his Thundering Maelstrom because it's one of his best abilities, and I'm going to be slowly bumping these up over here. I've kind of been staying at around the 40 million mark for my gold, and I think I maybe got down to about 37-ish when I was working Thor yesterday. So, Thor, Marvel's Thor Ragnarok. When this uniform is equipped, the skill Call the Lightning becomes enhanced and will continuously deal additional shock damage. Also, the skill Battle Rage will drop lightning around the target, making it easier to deal damage in a safer environment. I think his big key here is Thundering Maelstrom, apply to enemies stun, and then to himself, 100% immunity to all damage for 5 seconds, lightning damage, cooldown of 16. So, you know, up for 5, and depending upon when the cooldown starts, if it starts, it does start at the click, not the end of it. So, you know, basically up for 5, down for 10-ish. Battle Rage, Power of Asgard, lightning damage, Call the Lightning. Acquires the following effect for 10. Activation rate when attacking applies to enemies. There's the shock damage, sort of Thunderer, Gladiator. Protector of Asgard, 70% chance to penetrate barriers and all damage immune effects, which is pretty cool. For his custom gear, that's what I've got him with right now, is a lightning damage obelisk, which is on the way to getting bumped up. So, the unworthy uniform is what I was using before, but I wasn't really using him per se. As you can see, he does definitely have some, he was advanced at least once. But now, I'm going to be focusing on, of course, the Ragnarok one. It is kind of a shame that I've lost a little bit of work on Unworthy, but this was a very good uniform. Up next is Hela, or Hela. She doesn't look much different, but she is. Her outfit is considerably less attractive. Not that the original one was particularly pretty, but the features just get a lot darker, but a little bit more maliciousness with the horns over there. The uniform gets darker. Go back to profile. I can't get that little pop-up like I did with Thor. Maybe skills. There it is. So when this uniform is equipped, a snare effect activates when dealing basic attacks on nearby enemies. An ignore targeting effect is activated momentarily, allowing for more strategic fighting. Also, the debuff area created when using Death Touch changes so that it will continuously stick to the attacked target. Now, not a lot of people were doing this prior to her uniform, and they might not still, but as you can see, she is all the way jacked up to 6, because I actually used Hela quite frequently on Universal days. One of the reasons why is because she was often a teammate of Loki's, and I knew that if for some reason my Hela got crushed, Loki could step in and, shoulder the burden until the end of the Alliance battle or whatever was going on. But I generally piloted Hela because I liked her. And I've seen something at her in a while. I found her to be really fun. I found she stays out of damage rather frequently because of how many abilities take her up in the air. And then when we got the more visible iframes, that really highlighted that she's got some pretty good frames here. She is running Animal Instinct, which is a slightly out-of-date ISO set for her. I should try to bump her up to an 8. I think at the time I was just looking for anything that was relatively good. She's not kitted out at all for me. I mean, she lacks Urus, but her skills were up high. Her ISOs are semi-trash. Her obelisk is kind of sort of semi-trash, but I've always had fun using her, and I really am looking forward to getting the chance to use her again. So looking at her new skills, guaranteed dodge rate, increases all debuffs, Blade of Hell, bleed damage to an enemy. That's a little bit different. Death Touch, decrease resistances. So I've got a question for you guys. Does a decrease in resistance work on Frost Beasts? Because when you are using Hela, obviously when you hit the regular goons on Alliance battles, Alliance Arena battles, basically, you know that you hit him with Death Touch, you see the icon. But Frost Beast, because he's so big, you can't always see if he got debuffed anyway, but I'm curious if Death Touch actually will affect a Frost Beast or a world boss. If anybody knows, I would definitely like to hear. Merciless Queen, that's her illusions. Death's Embrace, increase of all attacks of summoned characters. Blade of Death, her invincibility. Fetter of Destiny, a bind, and another. These two, 4 and 5, are her bread and butter, along with 3, which does the illusions. I usually lead with 3 and then go 4 or 5, which is very similar to like a Corvus rotation. And Gathering of the Dead, she gives a really nice bonus to attack damage. She often pairs up really well with Loki and Thor. They're all universal, so that makes that one just kind of really easy. And, as I was saying, if something happened to her that she died, Loki was usually there to take over. Although I've gotten to the point where I pilot Hela all the way through, and she rarely, gets dropped. We also have a new uniform for Loki. Now, mind you, you have to take into consideration that if you do get this uniform, you are taking away the female attribute of what is obviously Loki's most desired thing is Floki or Lady Loki. Now, as you get more and more advanced in the game, Lady Loki does less and less work for you, but honestly, Loki is still a very good go-to character with the clones. The only thing is the clones don't hold aggro, but they tend to do more damage than other clones. And he's got the freeze abilities. And honestly, you just kind of like run around and let your clones act as turrets and just kill things. And the clones tend to live because they don't pull aggro like the other ones like Ultron and Kingpin and Hela and Corvus. So he's just a little bit different in the way that he handles illusions. But, Loki does a lot of work for people, and Floki is always one of those uniforms that you tell beginners to get. Like, go out and get this. This will do a lot of work for you. Well, now we have the Thor Ragnarok one, and gone is his staff, and he's traded it back in for the daggers. So for me, he's got placeholders. He had ISOs at one point in time, and then a changeover occurred, and I never got back to it. Marvel's Thor Ragnarok for Loki. When this uniform is equipped, the skill Trickery will change so that Barrier is activated, and will have an additional attack where daggers are thrown continuously at the target. Also, when using the skill Mind Games, summon minions will track the target of attack and also have increased attack speed, making it more deadly. So, what I'm hearing when I read this is that he's going to be even more effective against the Frost Beast if you're using him against any Frost Beast dailies. Again, you have to remember you are trading off the female attribute, which does come into play at times. But, you know, universal villain, he can still get you some mileage there. Mischief Magic, cold damage, skill damage. His obelisk, by the way, is cold damage, ignore defense, and an invincibility. You know, he's one of those ones that I obbied when I was a noob, and I changed it once to give him the cold damage. This is a very, very big thing for him, is the plus cold damage. And now we have another uniform to bump up. Again, I got my Floki up to advanced. Opening trick, chill, apply to enemies, freeze, chill damage, cold damage, deception, trickery, guard against 8 hits. So trickery will change so that barrier is activated, will additionally attack where daggers are thrown continuously. So now the shield is again turrety and offensive like his clones. Trickster, a buff to energy attack, astral projection, mind games, and God of Mischief. All allies have the mind resistance up. I do believe they've also said that more things get the chill effect with this uniform. Let's actually do previews here. I mean, I'm excited for a lot of these. Hulk, maybe not so much. I know Hulk is supposed to be a good booster. One of Hulk's uniforms is a good booster to Carnage and everything. So, wow, this is going to be interesting. I got to get used to. So a little bit of like a Oh, okay. So that's his knockaway move there. I see what that is. Okay. There's that freeze bolt. There's a shield. Let's run him away for a second. Let's hit it. So he threw daggers and they spiraled out. Alright, so you'll have to get used to that. Instead of just the standard jump back that his shield move used to do, it now throws the daggers and targets and goes back in. So if you remember Floki, when doing the shield ability, would just kind of take that hop step backwards, this is a more aggressive move. That looks bigger. Let's see if we can get that aimed at the big group over here and see. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. And there's his illusions. Again, I think that might be a little more aggressive. Let's try to get him out of combat over here. Yep, he walks up. He tries to engage combat. Damn, those clones do look considerably more wicked. Fun. I would definitely be interested in trying to get Loki involved in more things again, seeing that. He just seems fun. Alright, so moving on, we've looked at Thor, we've looked at Hela, we've looked at Loki. And this is how my roster's been going lately. Quicksilver was just recently completed. I finally got a chance to do a speed date with him. Scored pretty well, as you know, as much as I would expect. For my combat villain, what I like to do now is Tit, Absorbing Man, and Carnage. Carnage obviously still does the stuff, but Titania and Absorbing Man are the ones that boost my Carnage now. And actually, a T2 Titania stands on her own fairly well, so if your Carnage goes down, Titty can step in and do some pretty good work. For my Quicksilver, what I did was the standard Ella and Kid Kaiju, but then I ran Quicksilver with it. It loses the bonus of Speed Mordo, but, you know, I wanted to see how Quicksilver would do, and he did pretty well. My Hobo Thanos is 2 stars. Haven't worked on Cable yet. I'm working on Storm to T2. I'm also farming Scarlet Witch's bios. I just run out of time to actually do that. And my Mysterio capped out recently. There's my Amadeus Cho, who pairs off very well with Kid Kaiju and Elsa if it's not restricted to just speed. Finally got my Angela up to 666, well, 6 and 60. And right now, Lizard's been the target of my specials when I do specials dailies. Yondu has been getting some bios, and especially speed bios, to try to bump him up. And over here we have some of the new characters. So we have Skurge, who of course we know is Skurge the Executioner. Showed up in Marvel Avengers Alliance a few times. If I remember correctly, a lot of the new guys have just a bunch of stun abilities. They're pretty much all combat except for Heimdall, which is a little weird for me to see him as universal. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think I've really ever processed what Heimdall could potentially be in this, but yes, obviously Skurge seems combat. It's not going to be speed, that's for sure. The effects gained through Heart of the Battlefield can be maintained continuously by stacking as many cooldown decreasing options as possible. Very nice tip over there. Very basic and also at the same time very powerful and easy to understand. Also, after advancing to Tier 2, the invincibility and increased skill damage effects activate when using Last Stand, making it best to use the skill first when going into a combo. Nice tips. I mean, that's really lays that out there. So, Executioner's Axe, Force of a Storm Giant, Bleed Damage, Heart of the Battlefield, increase all attacks, guards against 2 hits, which of course can be bumped up. And invincibility will probably get added to it, especially with Last Stand. Gunfire of War, activation rate when attacking, speeds go up, it can stack. Execution beginning, there's that stun that I was talking about. Last Stand, bleed damage and stun. And then T2 Warrior of Hell, when Last Stand is used, apply to self, skill damage up, and invincible. So that's good for combat. Wonder if he could maybe take over combat villain with that kind of stuff. And a battle plan. Critical rate up and attack speed up. That might be nice to push him up a bit and see if he could take over for Carnage as a good combat villain. Okay. Valkyrie. I need to do a video on this at some point, because this is now taking after the movie. You know how there's a lot of complaints lately about, whether they be true or not, there's a lot of complaints lately about the whitewashing of characters in the media. I don't really think people should be complaining about that when you see color washing, too. I mean, Heimdall, Valkyrie, these are all being played by people who are not as how they are written. So that I would call that being color wash. So I think we should accept these characters for who they are and not really complain that much about whether things are color washed or whitewashed, because it balances out. I mean, yes, there are very stupid ones like, oh, Iron Fist was whitewashed. Danny Rand has always been a Caucasian. Like, do you read the comics? But I just, I think the people who complain so vehemently about this whitewashing shit don't realize just how much stuff has been color washed. I mean, hi, Daredevil's Kingpin, Michael Clark Duncan. Yeah, Kingpin has never been black. So, here we go. Back on topic for Valkyrie. There she is. Skills. Valkyrie marvels Thor Ragnarok. Because the barrier effect is activated when using Argon's Leap, it is best to use the skill first when linking skills together. Also because most of her skills deal additional sword and energy blade damage after the initial animation, it's best to use her skills in the middle of large groups of enemies. She's considered a physical attacker. Sharp Chivalry, physical damage, Argon's Leap, stun, guarding against hits. So there's that stun that I was talking about again. Step of the Goddess, all defenses go up. Leader of the Valkyrie, critical rate goes up. Aura Sword, physical damage, Army of the Valkyrie, stuns, illusions. I did not expect illusions for her, honestly. Shield Maiden of Asgard, applies to all allies, decrease the damage from supervillains, and increase the damage to supervillains. So, kind of the opposite going on here of Skurge. She might be certainly a nice bonus to world bosses. There's actually somebody that I happened to read recently that said an increase to superhero damage. Who was that? It wasn't him, was it? No. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. I could swear I read somebody recently that was like increased damage to superheroes, and I don't remember who it was now, but I remember thinking, oh hell, that's pretty handy for doing the world bosses that are X-Men, because they don't count as supervillains. So, and now I've completely forgotten who it was that I was looking at. Damn. Was it Hela? No, I don't think it was anything with Hela. But anyway, so here's Heimdall as a universal. Kind of mind-blowing. He's been, of course, a bruiser, and he's also been a tactician. So he was a bruiser in MAA 1. He was a tactician of all things in MAA 2, despite having an identical appearance and somewhat similar moveset. And now he's universal. I can kind of see him more being combat-based, but it feels like everybody was combat-based in this one. Ooh, speaking of which, maybe it was Hulk. Maybe Hulk is the one with the plus superhero damage. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to check it. Alright, so skills. It's best to use Eyes of the Watcher first as a skill in a skill combo, as it will blind enemies while simultaneously activating a barrier. So Eyes of the Watcher makes me think of his passive in MA1 where he could see invisible characters. The all-seeing eye. Chain Slash, bleed damage, bleeds again, invasion, blockade, stun, but no invincibility or hit guarding. Eyes of the Watcher, 30% chance of missing attacks. Applies to self, attacks, defenses, and speeds up. There's his guards against hits. Heimdall's Eye, immunity to blind. His dodge rate goes up and he ignores target dodge. Sword of the Guardian, flame of protection, burn damage, and stun. That's a weird one. I've never known him to work with flames. Guardian of the Bifrost, skill damage up, bonus damage, guaranteed dodge rate, decreases all damage received. And Firm Guardian, all allies go defensive up. So it's nice to see somebody being defense-oriented in the universal category. You often see that a little bit more in combat, and of course, you know, speed gets the bonus speeds. Who was that had the plus superhero damage? I'm gonna check Hela real quick, and then I'm gonna maybe look into Hulk's new uniform. Yeah, I didn't think it was him. This is gonna bug me until I figure out who it was, because I really remember thinking like, oh wow, that is going to be really handy. Because it's kind of like the opposite of Coulson. No, it's not Magneto, is it? I know it can't be Magneto. He buffs mutants, but he's not specifically anti-hero. Yeah, didn't think so. Crap. So here in the store, if you go to uniform, there's new Hulk. He's the only one that I haven't gotten yet. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could, but it's a lot of crystal expenditure in a short period of time. And I just never use Hulk, and I never even really use him to buff anybody else. I've honestly have found other people that give me the exact same kind of buffs. We have a limited event going on where if you do things to Skurge and Heimdall and Valkyrie, you get boost points. So essentially they're going it really is about going 6-6-60. Reaching 60 and then 6-star masteries on all 3 characters. And then you get the boosters or you get uniform experience. We still have the event quest going on, except it's different. It now doesn't give tokens, but it gives energy and money rewards. The event shop is out. And everything was a one-time purchase. I grabbed everything that was here. I've already done the Nornstone selector once. I may as well get the Thor ones just to have a bank of bios on somebody that can be used for native T2s. We have the Halloween event mission going on, which is basically, you know, your typical holiday or seasonal thing where you just have the 3 maps that get progressively harder. And I can actually still remember what it was like to not be able to do the hard one. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. The event shop has a mega rank up 6-star ticket for 300. You get 45 a day. I do believe what people have mathed it out to be is that the best things to go for are the mega rank up ticket and then spend the rest on hiddens. I would definitely do the mega rank up ticket myself and go for that one. And I would say probably the hidden tickets too, but you could get them in an alliance shop. And that is pretty much about it, aside from going over here to challenge and picking the cinematic battle. As you do one, the next one unlocks, sort of like your almost kind of like RPG mission thing. I had done 2 of these yesterday, and then basically I was so tired I was going to bed, so as you can see, your boosts will get better the better your Thor is. So here, if you have a 6-star Thor and a tier 2 Thor, you get those. But then if you own any rare... Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Not any. If your Ragnarok uniform goes up to rare, heroic, and then legendary, you get additional rewards. And if it gets up to mythical, you get a card. So, if you happen to have one of those mythical tickets, you can dump it on him and go for it. It may not be such a bad idea because maybe he can be in place to do Universal Hero Daily. My Universal Hero Daily has generally kind of sucked because I've never had a buffed up Odin. So, I've usually gone with Captain Marvel and people that can buff Captain Marvel in the black and yellow lightning bolt outfit. She does okay. I mean, she can complete it, but she's not going to ass kick it. Perhaps a mythical movie Thor can actually do it. And we'll take a look at the mission right here. You don't even have to move around a lot. I do believe you get better scores the quicker you do it. And there is a leaderboard, and you can tell the scores are so tight that there's obviously a high mark people hit and lots of other similar people hit the same mark. This move, the number 2 move on that screen, looks very Yellow Jacket-ish. It reminds me of uniform Yellow Jackets, like jump back and do the 2 cannon abilities from his shoulder. So this always happens, a little knockback. You have to wait the text out. There's not a whole lot of tapping that will make it go by quicker. And yes, every time you go through this mission, you will have to see this in its entirety. No skips. So just be prepared for that. It's worse than like waiting for Thanos to go enrage and then disappear. I think my best time was somewhere above 2:30, honestly. I think I've definitely done better than this, but it's a little harder to do without the touchscreen. And if you bump your Thor up later, all you need to do is just come back and do the mission again at least once, and then you'll be able to get that taken care of. I don't think I have any more uniform tickets left. I'm going to check. No, actually maybe I do. I think I got one for somebody that was a stupid idea because he was a native. Uniform upgrade ticket. Yep. So I could take him to Advance, or I could take him right to Mythic. I don't think I would Mythic Loki. I don't think I would Mythic Hela at all. It might be worth it. I might decide to do that and then start using him for Universal Hero and see how it goes. But that's pretty much it, folks. That's the new Thor Ragnarok update along with a Halloween event. Pretty cool stuff going on over here. I'm happy with it. And there's a lot of stuff that just grabs at your time. There's the rotating dailies. You can continue to do the event if you want the bonus gold and energy, but I've largely stopped it and just do my daily challenges now. And yeah, now I've added Scarlet Witch and the cinematic battles to the stuff. Lots of stuff to do. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.